Chapter 19. Bella dismissed her friends, telling them she needed some space for the evening. Slipping into the entrance hall of her home, she closed the door behind her and began to sob once more. It all seemed so sudden, so confusing. How had Vince led her on for so long without her realizing it? What a fool she had been.
And it's empty and hollow here. Tear me apart, I wish I could disappear. Oh, my heart, I can feel it breaking. Empty wall, empty home, filled with silence that's deafening. Lost and alone, I search for you desperately. Why must I always be abandoned? It's my dream to find someone like you were, something like the dream you taught me to see. Oh, it was just a moment. I should have known it would abandon me here. Empty words full of lies you sang to me, danced with me, brought me to life. I learned to need, learned to breathe you in my life. Now you're pulling me under. It was all pretend. The feelings you gave to me came to their end, torn from me breathlessly. Why must I always be abandoned? It's my dream to find someone like you were, something like the dream you taught me to see. Oh, it was just a moment. I should have known it would abandon me here. Oh, it was just a moment, so beautiful before it abandoned me here.
Bella dried her eyes, heading towards her chambers, but stopped. What she really wanted was to be close to her father. It seemed like he was the only one who was not constantly trying to get something from her or use her for a selfish purpose. Turning away from her chambers, she headed in the opposite direction, up the grand marble staircase and down towards her father's private study in the west wing. Even though he was not home yet, she enjoyed sitting in his study where reminders of him lay all around. Reaching the end of the hall, she stopped just outside her father's study and paused. Voices could be heard within, arguing back and forth in hushed tones. "I don't think you know what you're talking about," hissed the first. "No, I don't think you know what you're talking about," snapped the second. "I should have never made you my financial cosigner," the first voice hissed again. "But why the eastern seaboard?" cried the second. "Why, if you're going to invest that amount of money, look to the west. Though it won't much matter where the money is put if we can't get it. This had better work, Mr. Bingham." "Of course it will work." Bella heard the rustle of papers before the second voice began again. "It's identical. I've been working on forging this will for years now, ever since that fool of a doctor entrusted me with it." Bella peered cautiously around the corner into the office. Two men were standing with their backs to her, a stack of parchment rolled out on her father's desk before them. The first man she recognized instantly as her butler, Mr. Bingham, with his bushy white mustache and protruding belly. The second man, however, she did not recognize immediately. His shiny black hair was pulled back in a tail behind his head, and his black cloak fell to his ankles. He turned to look at Mr. Bingham, and Bella's eyes grew wide. It was Mr. Strout, Bartholomew's uncle. "And what of that street boy, Vince?" Mr. Strout spat. "He bested Bartholomew and his thugs once. What's going to stop him from doing it again?" "Two things," Mr. Bingham replied. "Firstly, he will be broken because of the fake letter we sent Bella from him. I know Bella. She will have told him off by now, leaving him confused and downtrodden. He will be weak. And second, before now he was just a kid to chase around. However, due to their recent defeat, Bartholomew and his boys hate him. Hunger for revenge will drive them. They will tear that boy to pieces when he goes down to the lighthouse tonight, and then he and his father will share a watery grave with that fool Dr. Cartwright." Bella gasped and threw her hand over her mouth. Mr. Bingham and Mr. Strout whirled around before she could move. "Grab her!" Mr. Strout cried. Bella turned to flee down the corridor, but ran into something solid, falling to the ground. Dazed, she felt a hand grasp her arm in a powerful grip, dragging her into the study and closing the door behind them. My, Mr. Bingham tutted. "This is a surprise. How unfortunate you had to stop by." "You're a snake," Bella spat at him, flashing him a withering gaze. Looking up, her stomach sank. The person she had run into, who had drug her into the study, was none other than Bartholomew. "Yes, dear," Mr. Bingham laughed. "I am a snake in a cage of mice. It's okay, darling. I never really liked you much either. Bartholomew, tie her hands." Bella looked back at Bartholomew, who stood beside her, hesitating as he looked back and forth between her and his uncle. "Now, boy," his uncle roared. Bartholomew stooped down, producing cords and tying them tightly around Bella's wrists, even as she fought against him. "Now," Mr. Strout said to Bartholomew, moving to collect his cloak and hat from a chair beside the desk, "you stay here in case she tries anything funny. We're going to go down to town to take care of some unfinished business, like making sure your friends do their jobs correctly." As Mr. Strout and Mr. Bingham moved to walk past Bella, she cried out, "Why are you doing this? My father's always been good to you, and Vince is just a lamplighter." "It really is unfortunate you decided to pop in, my dear," Mr. Bingham clucked. "I'd give you the long-winded version of the story, but I haven't the time, so just let it suffice to say that anything you do to resist what's coming will only make matters worse for yourself." With a smile and a tip of a hat, Mr. Bingham followed Mr. Strout out of the room, closing the door behind them and leaving Bella alone with Bartholomew. Bartholomew grasped Bella under her arms and helped her over to a chair, where he set her down before walking over to lean against her father's desk. Bella struggled against her bindings, but all it did was rub the raw skin on her wrists, making her flinch. She wanted to scream, but she knew it was no use. They were so far out of town that no one would hear her, even if she was yelling out a window. Fear gripped her heart as she thought about what Mr. Strout had said about her father. Were they really planning on killing him? And Vince, too? Bella felt so helpless, so powerless. "Why are you doing this?" she gasped, looking over at Bartholomew. He stood there with a cold stone expression on his face as he polished his baton. Bella looked back at the ground, straining against her bonds despite the pain in her wrists. Bartholomew had not said anything since his uncle left. He seemed as deaf to her cries as the books on the shelves around them. Bella's mind raced. "That letter," she said, thinking about what she had overheard Mr. Bingham say. "It was a fake. Shanice said that you gave it to her." Realization hit Bella like a tidal wave. "You knew. You've been behind this all along. That night I was attacked. You were the one in the mask, weren't you? How could you do this?" Bartholomew offered her no response. Bella felt hopeless and powerless. How could she have been so blind? Her mind turned to Vince. She could not believe how foolish she had been, how quick to anger. She hadn't even stopped to think about what the letter had said. She only reacted. She should have known something was wrong with the whole situation. Never in all their time together had Vince shown the signs of selfishness that had been printed on those pages. Quite to the contrary, he had always been kind, humble, and selfless. Her heart broke even more to think of Vince walking back down to the city all alone, her heavy words hanging on his heart, the last words he might hear from her before being taken from her forever. "I'm so sorry, Vince," she sobbed. "I had no choice," a voice said beside Bella, pulling her from her thoughts. She looked around confused before realizing it was Bartholomew who had spoken. "I had no choice," he repeated again, scowling down at his baton. "He was going to kill you. This was the only way." "What are you talking about?" Bella choked, confused. "Bartholomew, this isn't a way." "No," Bartholomew shouted, slamming his baton on the table. "You don't understand, Bella. If I let you go, my uncle will kill you, me, and everyone else who stands in his way. He can't be stopped. He's too powerful and too cunning." Bartholomew's voice echoed off the walls. Bella's sorrow twisted inside of her, turning her heart inside out. "What happened to you, Bartholomew?" she sobbed. "The boy I grew up with was noble and brave, but you've grown cruel and heartless, just like your uncle." "I am not my uncle," Bartholomew seethed. "Look at yourself," Bella shot, her sorrow turning to anger. "Look at everything you've done, what you're doing. What makes you any different?" Bartholomew took a sharp breath, and Bella flinched, waiting for his slicing reply, for the echoes of his yells about the room. But he was silent. Looking over at him, Bella realized he was crying softly, a look of complete defeat upon his face. His arms hung limply by his side, and his baton fell from his grasp, clattering to the floor. Bella did not know what to say. Her anger ebbed away, replaced by a consuming hopelessness that crept into her heart. "Bartholomew," she began, "when we were children, you used to tell me stories." Bartholomew looked up at her, fear in his eyes as if remembering a bad dream. "We're not kids anymore," he said, clenching his fists. "The darkness isn't pretend anymore. This is real life, with real pain. Bella, I have never known love. My parents sent me away as a child. They sent me to these dark walls and iron gates. The only love I ever knew was the love I had for you." His voice broke, tears starting to run down his face. "Bella, I have no choice. If I don't do what my uncle commands, he'll kill you. I can't let that happen. You're the only light I've ever had." Somewhere deep inside her heart, through all the pain and worry, another thought surfaced. "You're as much a prisoner as I am, aren't you?" Bella said. "But you've been a prisoner for years now. I remember."
There was darkness, I knew I could feel it drawing nearer. But we were children, we were young, how was I supposed to know? I could see it in your eyes every time that he would call you. We were children, we were young, how was I supposed to know?
They were poison, all his words like a dagger piercing through me. But we were children, we were young, what was I supposed to do? I can see him in my mind, I can feel the fear he caused me. We were children, we were young, what was I supposed to do?
You could fight, you could stay, you could wander far away. You can leave me here, or you can stand and face your fears. Oh, please stay with me.
Can't you see I have no choice? If I fail, he will kill you.
No, he can't, you won't let him.
If I stay or if I go, we both die now, can't you see?
No, he won't, he can't hurt us.
I can feel him in my mind, I can sense his darkness in me. I'm like a child, I'm afraid, what am I supposed to do?
You must stand, you must fight, you must break these chains that bind you.
But if I falter, if I
You
fall,
must cast away the shackles that bind you to his grief.
but me do you
I can
believe?
feel it in your heart. You don't want the life he gives you. We were children, we were young, but now the choice is in your hands. You could fight, you could stay, you could wander far away. You can leave me here, or you can stand and face your fears. Oh, please stay with me.
Bartholomew looked at Bella as if pleading with her. What more could she do? Picking up a large knife from off the desk, he advanced upon her, the blade glinting murderously in his hand. Bella squeezed her eyes shut as he approached, then felt her bonds fall from her hands and feet as he cut through them. Holding out his hand, Bartholomew helped Bella to her feet. "I can't let you go," he said firmly, "so I'm coming with you. We must hurry if we are to stop them."
There was darkness, I knew we could feel it drawing
Pull
nearer.
me into darkness.
We were children, we were young, how was I supposed to
Strike
know?
my bleeding heart.
I could see
But tonight I will not fall. But tonight I will not fall to my broken heart.